Welcome to the Better Business Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Zelan. Join me week after week as I interview high-level entrepreneurs on their journey to success, both in business and personal development. Each week presents new stories to learn from and new ideas on how to run a better business. Stay updated with all the guests we'll have by subscribing to this podcast. Welcome to another episode of Better Business with Austin Zelan. Today we have special guest Kristine Mirelle. She's got a lot of really cool experience in the ad space, and I'm very excited to hear from her about different things that we can do to scale our advertising, to improve our ads, whether you're just doing organic type stuff or if you have cold traffic coming into your business. Very excited for this conversation. She's the queen of funny ads. So this is going to be a good one, guys. So buckle up. So Kristine, very excited to have you. Thank you for coming out. And I wanted to ask you to share a little bit about your story first, like how you got started, so people can have some context on who they're dealing with here.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me.
Yeah.
When we were kids, we used to make really funny skits, back when the, video cameras were like this big. So we'd make little funny skits. And when I got older, getting into entrepreneurship, I started out as a musician. So I played the piano and sang, and I just never wanted to have a regular job. I never wanted to have to ask permission, to go home or have a lunch break or whatever that looks like. And when I first released my very first book, it was during COVID, and I was a single mom. I had just given birth to my son, and it was like absolutely crazy. I mean, the whole thing was, I never really intended to really get into online marketing or anything at all, because I just wanted to do music. And then I released a book teaching musicians how to book shows and how to do those types of things, which during COVID, it became completely irrelevant. Nobody could perform anymore. I lost my jobs performing, so I was trying to freak out, like, how am I going to take care of a baby? Like, how am I going to do this? I was like, probably the most stressed out that I've ever been, the most depressed that I've ever been. It really wasn't the best time where I felt the funniest, right? I didn't feel like excited about life in general, to be honest. But I was really trying to figure out how am I going to pay to take care of my son. And I moved to New Mexico on a farm with my family, and we didn't have Wi-Fi and we didn't have cell phone service. And so I was like, I want to start an online business because I don't want to go get a regular job. And I started posting videos online. So I would record something on my cell phone, and then I would drive about 10 miles into town. And I would drive into 10 miles, and I didn't have a car, so I'd have to borrow my mom's car. I would drive into town, and I was promoting a book that I created. I created a new book to teach musicians how to promote their music. And I posted this one video where my brother was sitting on a toilet, and it was ridiculous. I'm like juggling. It's like there's all kinds of, he's sitting on a toilet and we're talking with like funny accents, and it got millions and millions of views. And I had my first day where I made $1,000 in a day, passively, like not working. I didn't have any sales teams. I'm selling a book for $19. It's not like I had this high ticket product or anything. I had no coaching programs, no webinars. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, if you make people laugh, like it just opens up this whole world. So that's kind of how I discovered it in a nutshell.
Wow, that's amazing. That's such a cool story. And I mean, guys, listen to this dedication. You got to drive 10 miles into town on your mom's car just to post the video. And some of us try to be like, oh yeah, it's so hard to post videos every day. That's dedication right there. That's dedication. That's for sure. So that's cool. Yeah. So that got you started in kind of this video space. You started making some money online. And so where has that brought you like today? From there to today, where have you gone?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started to create kind of more scripted stuff like what I did when I was a kid, when we used to create like scenes and sets and that sort of thing. And I had already had experience because I had been shooting music videos for myself, so I'd always been creating. And then so I started creating more and more stuff, and I was just shooting it with my cell phone. And I was still, earning a really decent living, especially for not working. And by the way, I'm like breastfeeding and I'm not sleeping, and my son is like a terrorist. Like it was just, I was getting no sleep at all. And, but these videos were taking off. And so I kept filming. And then I had a friend that had a cologne company, and he was telling me about how they weren't making any money online. And it was like a $39 cologne. And I was like, hey, listen, I figured this thing out. Like I created something called a funnel, and I created an ad with my cell phone. And I bet if I did everything for you, I'm going to create the funnel. I'll create the ad copy. I didn't even know what ad copy meant. So to me, I was like, I'll create the words that we say or whatever, just whatever I was describing it. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And so I created ads on that same farm for a cologne company. And I didn't even have the cologne. So I would just be like, check out this cologne. And then I'd like point, and then we'd like put a picture of the cologne, like on the graphic. And I remember thinking, are people going to buy this? Because they can't smell the cologne. Like, when was the last time you bought a cologne that you've never smelled?
Never.
Like, never, right? Never.com.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let's just see. And it took off. And we did like $2 million in sales within, I think it was like 18 months of a $39 product. And again, like no sales teams. It's not like we were doing, it was just these, and just ads that we shot on a cell phone. And, it was really encouraging because I thought, wow, this is really cool if we could do this. Because I was involved in the entire sales process. Like it was like from the funnel, from the ad copy to, so I'm like, oh, if I have I could take a product that I see and make it sell more. Like that was really exciting. So then I told the world like, hey, I'm here. And if you want to make funny ads and have a good time, creating a video, let's do it. And so then Russell Brunson asked me to speak at Funnel Hacking Live. And that was a really big landmark for me. And after that, I just started creating ads we've created ads now for $50 million, $100 million companies now. And so it's really exciting. And I get like usually serious people to act like completely silly and fun. And so I don't know, I have a really good time doing it.
Yeah. And so running these silly ads with serious people, do you find that increases their conversions? Are they able to make more money with it? Or do you feel like sometimes it maybe changes the way they see their brand or like improves it? What effects have you seen of your ads and your strategy on businesses like this?
Yeah. One of my favorite thing is we did a few ads for Brooke Castillo, who's a life coach. And she's usually very serious and she's really awesome, but she's actually one of the funniest people I've ever met, but people don't know that. And so I'm actually glad I didn't know her going in because maybe I would have been like more serious. But I went in and we did this really funny ad and it was so cool to see all the comments where people are going, oh my gosh, I didn't know how funny you were. Like, you should be in Hollywood. You're the funniest person I know. Oh my gosh, like this is the best ad that I've ever seen. So it's also seeing the responses that already existing customers or new customers are saying, like, this guy's the funniest guy I've ever seen. And so I love taking screenshots of like, this is the funniest ad I've ever seen, because we've gotten that for other businesses over and over and over again. So it's just seeing like it's not just about, selling a product. If people like you as a person, they'll buy almost anything from you because they trust you. You've made them laugh. They're associating like good feelings with whatever you're selling. You'd be selling peanut butter, but you've made them laugh. And so they're like, I want that peanut butter. Like if I'm going to buy peanut butter, I'm going to buy peanut butter from the guy that I like, right? Mm-hmm. The guy that's made me laugh. And so, and that even goes into like, when you think about, like I always tell everyone, I'm like, if you have a product that is good, that solves a problem, that does something, has some sort of great benefit and result, that's great. But humor breaks all the rules, because then you have things like, do you remember like the shake weight? Mm-hmm. Like it's completely useless. Like it's just completely like nobody uses the shake weight. Like it was just but it has this like sexual innuendo, and it was funny and people like did a lot of references to it, and it's completely useless. Yet it sold, I don't remember how many tens of millions of dollars worth of the product because it was funny.
Yeah.
So it's like, now imagine if you add humor to a product that actually can do something and solve people's problems. Like it's the sky's the limit.
Yeah, definitely. So are there specific industries that you target with humorous ads, or maybe some industries that perform better than others?
That's a really good question. Okay, so a lot of people come around and they always go, Kristine, I love funny ads, but my business isn't funny. And I always hear that. And I'm like, no business is funny.
If I'm like a financial advisor or something, like, can it be funny?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
So we do ads yesterday we were shooting ads for a solar lead generation company. Like this is someone that generates leads, meaning takes people that might want to switch to solar panels. And we shot turf ads yesterday, where turf lead generation. So it's not the business that's funny. It's you making it funny through other things. So it's not saying, because think about is any business really funny unless you make like whoopee cushions or like fart spray or something? You know what I mean? Like if you don't do anything like that, and nothing we do is funny, right? A restaurant's not funny. Like nothing about the cologne's not funny. Music business isn't funny. Nothing's funny. But it's really about like, there's simple things. Like I could give you one technique actually.
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
Tell
so
us.
What you do is you can list out pain points of your customers. Okay. So for example, if someone were to be like what we did with Brooke Castillo, for example. She said, one of the things that everyone always tells me is that they feel stuck. And there's nothing funny about that, right? It's not like, oh, remember that time I felt stuck? Like, boom, boom, boom. Like, it's not funny.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, how do we exaggerate it so much that when someone sees it, they see themselves and they go, that's how I feel. But it's actually not even really something that would happen. So what we did in the very first second, because it's really important that the very first second of your ad is like eye-catching, like you grab them. I wedged myself in between two mattresses, and she's like, have you ever felt stuck? And I'm like sitting there like in the mattress, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just ridiculous. How could anyone wedge themselves inside a mattress? Like, you can't. But it's just taking whatever that pain point is. And, I've done that with musicians where, when I'm selling a book, I'm like, hey, have you ever felt, so frustrated about your career? And it's like, and then it shows me like upside down drinking beer and I'm hanging out on the stairs and I'm like, I'm fine. Like just the most ridiculous, exaggerated, hitting my head on the ground. Like, I hate my job. Like, we've done that for different entrepreneurship coaching and stuff. Just exaggerating whatever pain point your customers already have, like to the moon, where someone goes, oh my God, that's how I feel. I feel like that guy right now.
Yeah.
And that's like a huge way to like get people to go, oh my gosh, they get me.
Yeah. I love that. No, that's really cool. Yeah. I think actually what comes to mind is there was an ad I think State Farm did with that guy that like with destruction or disaster or something. You know what I'm talking about? He like destroys everything in the house and he's just all like beat up. And it relates, because people can relate to that visual and they feel like you understand them and you hear them where they're at. Because one thing actually one of my mentors taught me is that you can't lead people unless you meet them where they're at. And I think humor is a great medium to do that because you're able to get to the people where they're at, let them understand that you understand what they're feeling, and then you can lead them to the solution. So totally makes sense why it works. And I think that's a really, really cool strategy. So if we were to like, somebody's watching this, they're like, okay, what are a couple things that I could do to be funnier in my ads? Or like, what's one technique I can try to create a funny ad? What would you say to that person?
Yeah. So, okay. So it'd be mainly 2 steps. So first, it can't just be funny because just because something's funny, it doesn't mean that it's going to sell. So you have to first use language that sells and then you make that funny. So first, language that sells is really easy way is just like I mentioned earlier, what are the pain points of the customer? Just say, hey, like you think of Advil, right? Advil is, do you got a headache? Do you not want a headache? Buy our stuff. And Advil's huge, right? Like really that's all, like what pain point do you solve? So a lot of people focus, especially as entrepreneurs, let's say someone has a coaching program, for example. Because we've spent so much time working on it, we get really caught up in it has 400 modules and 500 hours of coaching. Like nobody wants 500 hours of coaching. They just want the result. So if you're like, hey, you can get this result within 24 hours. I'm going to show you how to book your first show within 24 hours. I'm going to show you how to get your first 10 customers within the next 7 days. I'm going to show you how to sell your first $20,000 offer by next Tuesday or whatever that looks like. What is the result that you can provide or help them to achieve? What's the pain point? So it's just constantly going by, what's your pain point? Are you tired of being a, worn out mom? I'm going to show you how to balance entrepreneurship and motherhood, right? So that's just really good language that sells because you're saying, hey, you're tired of, being worn out. You're not getting any sleep. You don't have any help, but you're wanting to be an entrepreneur. We can help you. So that's language that sells. But then if you want to make it funny, now you exaggerate it and you exaggerate it in the first second. We need that like right away for people to visually see you doing something interesting. So it would be like a mom whose hair's like, looks like it just like got burnt off of her head, like she's exhausted. Her kid's like in the back, like drawing with their own poop on the wall. Like the dog's like sitting there, like whatever it's doing, like just madness. And she's just sitting there going, looking at the camera. Are you having a hard time balancing being a mother and an entrepreneur or, being a business owner, whatever that looks like? Or does your, let's say you own a landscaping company, does your yard look like this and everything's like on fire and what, like it's really that, it's just exaggerating it.
Yeah.
We will solve that. So you're saying, here's your pain point. Here's what we do to solve it. But you're going to exaggerate the pain point to make it funny in the first second.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I love it. Now it's a beautiful formula. So you use language that sells, right? And then you exaggerate it to the point where it's just so ridiculous that it sticks in their mind and they feel like they can relate to it. I think it's beautiful. And I could see how that would definitely work in a lot of different industries. So what's like can you tell us about your favorite ad that you've ever filmed?
Ooh.
See, what's your favorite funny ad?
Oh man. We did one. Oh man. Okay. So I did an ad where it was actually to promote my agency. So it was an ad where I was going to tell the world, and I hadn't run any ads yet, where I was telling the world that I create ads. So this was like my first, like telling the
Ads
world.
for ads.
Yeah, ads for ads. I'm making an ad about an ad right now. So, and I was like, I want to create characters because I love creating characters. Like I love accents. Earlier, before the camera's on, you and I were like, welcome to the podcast, like country, accents, whatever. And so I was like, I want to create a character that would never be in the ad space, would never be in the entrepreneur space, and just something where people could look at this and go, what? Like, I love to confuse people. I love for people to be like, what did I just watch? And so I booked an office space and I showed up and there were like 4 guys there and a girlfriend of mine. And I was like, okay. And I already had figured out the character, but I hadn't really decided what I was going to do. But I created a character called the Ads Dominatrix. And so I literally just like, I was yelling at all these guys all day in like an accent where I'm like, do you not run paid traffic? You are not doing this correct. I'm going to punish you. And then it's all these guys that had no idea what they were getting into. They were just in the office and I'm like, hey, do you guys want to be in my ad today? And they're like, sure. And then I show up, I'm like, all right.
So they literally had no idea.
They had no idea. Like they were not actors.
Yeah.
They were not like, and so 2 of them walked out in the first few minutes because they were like not comfortable with this, And so I was like, don't worry guys, it's totally fine. But then after a while, they still hung out. They were like, okay, I can do it. And then they started joining in and it was like, it actually became really like super fun. Like we had like rope and we tied up people and like, we were like, you're only running organic. Why are you how do you expect to scale? And the guy's like, I'm sorry, Ads Dominatrix. It's just the new algorithm is making it so hard to run ads, and I'm just like, you imbecile. And I'm like smacking them around. And so it's just like really fun to like, just kind of be like this whole like character. And so I do a lot of stuff like that. I'll play like old ladies or I'll play like a country Western person or I'll play like just kind of different things. And so that one was just fun because none of it was planned. The guys weren't even like signed up for it, and ended up like crushing it and really had a good time. That was probably my favorite ad that we've done for my business.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. So when people switch from just regular ads, whatever they're running, to something funnier, do you usually see like an uptick in sales or whatever it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is
Do you
what
have any
happens.
like stats on that, by the way? Like usually 10% or 20% or like better conversions or less spend. Like I just want to get into the details so we can see like, is it worth our time to like record it now or is it just something to try out maybe and test?
Yeah. Let me think if I can think of any exact stats. I mean, what I saw a lot is this. So the conversions aren't going to change because the front end, we're talking about bringing in traffic. So the conversion, so before you even run, ads, you need to have an offer that works, right?
Yeah.
So if once you've figured out an offer that works, you've already figured out a process. Maybe you had to put together a sales team. Maybe you have a webinar. Maybe, whatever it is that you're selling, or maybe it's a consultation call, whatever that looks like. What happens is the way that you can look at it is it's less, I don't have exact stats right now. What I've seen on my end is less cost per click or cost per view, like those types of things. So the conversions are going to stay the same because whatever you convert at, it's this, if you're converting at 10%, if your sales team closes at 10%, it closes at 10%. But if you can spend, half as much and get the same amount of traffic, now your ad spend is less. So that's really what it is because it's all front end.
Yeah.
Back end that's a whole other side.
Yeah, that's a sales team.
That's the sales team. That's your whole thing. But on front end, you can usually see like an increase in more views, more shares. People are going to be sharing it. People are going to be tagging all their friends. Like when I first got my first 30 million views, it was from like mainly 2 ads. And one of them was, where my brother's sitting on the toilet and, that sort of thing, shot it just on my cell phone. And that just brought in everything on the front end and all the back end, I had already figured it out. So it's really important that the person doesn't run funny ads before they have their offer and their sales process figured out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what you can usually expect. It's like a higher peak in traffic on the front end with paid marketing.
Yeah. So the proper time to implement something like this would probably be like, okay, you figure out your offer, you figure out what there's demand for, you figure out if your sales team is actually closing on it, and then to scale, you could spend more money on ads, or you could start filming funnier ads and get that cost per lead down. So now you're getting more traffic through with less spend, and it's a win-win for everybody.
And to give you just like an idea of when I first released my first serious ad, and then I released my second, I was able to spend about 3 times as much, and when I was scaling, I was able to keep the profit margins at around 37%. Now that's unique to my product. That's unique. I never like to say like that's what's going to happen to you or you or you or you. That was very unique to whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
But to be able to spend 3 times as much and to be able to make 3 times as much, right? that was what I saw in the immediate difference from shooting a serious ad to something funny. But everyone's going to have different experiences. But what you are going to see is if you can execute a funny ad, you will get the amount of views, the amount of shareability, the amount of clicks, and the amount of love that you get. It's just a lot of fun. So
wow, interesting. So basically, like you're saying that you've cut down costs up to a third. So, or I guess if you're spending $100K, you released a funny ad or funny version of that, and now you're only spending 30, 35.
On some ads. I don't want to say just because you make a funny ad, that's always happened. But yes, absolutely. Wow. I've seen that happen where I've been able
a huge impact.
Yeah, it's a gigantic impact. Yeah. And especially if you're also, like what I've seen is we'll get to, after a while, an ad eventually plateaus. Mm-hmm. It's eventually, it'll go right back to like just breaking even or maybe even losing money. It costs money to acquire a customer.
Yeah.
We might shoot 2 or 3 ads and one ad takes off. We're testing all 3. So, and one of them takes off and it goes right back up and it'll go right back up to 2-3 times as much on, back to that kind of same area. So it's a constant collaboration of having a good offer, a good sales process, but on the ad side, constantly creating content.
Yeah.
And now, it gets harder and harder and harder now, right? With ad spend being more expensive.
Yeah.
And so for those that can, I always say combine both your ads with also organic if you can now. When I started out, I only had ads and it worked well for me, but everyone's going to have a different experience.
Interesting. So is that then like your target? You try to cut ad spend up to like, I guess by 70%.
That would be amazing if we do that every time, right?
No,
like if you could do that every time. I'm like, that'd be great.
But that's your target. If it does that, then you're like, okay, that was a great ad.
Yeah. Well, okay. Just for at any time, like I said, once something plateaus, if we can get it right back up, just for releasing new content, it's just like, this is great because, and what I've seen is I've had some ads that crush for like 8 weeks and then we have to shoot something else. Mm-hmm. But I have one ad that I've been running for the cologne company. It's been 5 years. And it's the same ad that we've been running, and it's crazy. And that one's so cool because we don't have any sales teams. We don't have anything like that. And the profit margins for that business are between 30 and 40% on the front end. That's not even after doing anything on the back end, which is awesome. So anything on the back end is like extra, so it's like, it's very cool. Whereas some people, everyone's gonna have a different experience. But for you to be able to bring in just more traffic and first to think that, hey, maybe I could create a piece of content that I could run I've had other ads run for 6 months. I have ads that I'm running right now that have been running for a year or more. So each ad's just different. You're just like, hey, as long as I put in like a few funny elements though, a lot of magic can happen.
What would you say on average is the length that you run an ad for?
Okay, that's a really good one. My favorite length of the ads, are you talking about how many seconds or how many months?
How many months?
Oh, how many months?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the seconds is a good question too.
Yeah. Okay. So usually if we have a good ad that's running and we've got everything else dialed in, right? We'll run it for like 6 months. It's a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I consider that a long time, especially when a lot of the lifetime of a lot of other ads are like 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks sometimes. The ads that we've done, we've literally run for 6 months, a year. I told you we even had the ads run for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then my favorite length of an ad, everyone says, how long should an ad be? How short should an ad be? It's kind of like asking how long should a movie be, right? There's some standard like, hey, if you do it around this, but then you have like the Titanic that came and did like 4 hours and like broke every record, right? If it's bad, 5 seconds is too long, If it's good, 5 minutes is great. It's just, I've done everything from 15-second ads that have performed well to, I think the longest that I've done, I haven't done super long, but probably about 3.5 minutes, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. My favorite is 90 seconds. And then it's just, that's where I feel like it's a sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
But I've seen people, a lot of people do 30-second ads that do fantastic. And some people do, they'll run their webinar as like an ad. So I've seen so many different variety of things. It's just important to test.
Yeah. So in that 90 seconds, can you walk us through what that structure is? So you have the hook at the beginning, and then are you educating them on something and then call to action, or what's the structure of it?
Yeah. So it just depends. So there's education-based marketing, right? And then there's direct response marketing. I do a lot of direct response when I'm doing paid, which is, do you have a problem? Here's how we're going to solve the problem. Click here to solve your problem, right? Which is very calling out, I'm selling something, you should buy it. But the way it'll look is, I'll call out, I'll do the first few seconds of like an exaggerated hook where I'll say, are you tired of, we've done one where, are you, wanting to quit your job? Are you hoping for it to come as, quickly as the second coming of Christ? Or I don't know, something I don't know what we did, but we just did some like funny joke. And, then we'll start naming pain points or benefits and results. So like for this particular ad, the guy is in a lead gen company. He says, I figured out, and he had done $100 million. I figured out how to do $100 million in sales without my own product, without an affiliate, business, without a sales team, without, having to spend tons of time creating things. So we're naming all the things that you can do. Like we're responding to people's objections where someone might be like, oh, I can't do that because I don't have a product. Yeah. So right away, we're going to start saying, I did this, even though I didn't have these 5 things. And then what really humor, where you throw in the humor, it's usually good. Like you could do 3 where it's like boom, boom, pow. So you're like, boom, hey, I did this without a sales team. Mm-hmm. Boom, I did this without my own product. And then boom is the funny thing. And I didn't have to shake my butt on TikTok. And then the guy's like shaking his butt and we're like adding music, right? And then we cut to the next thing and he's doing it again. Pain points and benefits and results. Now he's at a whiteboard, right? Now he's at a whiteboard saying, and guess what? You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. And you don't even got to wear pants. And then you zoom out and he has like no pants on and he's like standing there in a board meeting, So it's just like really funny because he's working from home. So it's like you're giving real, hey, this is the real result that you can expect, or these are the real pain points that we solve. But then the third thing that you mentioned is just something funny, like where someone's like, well, I don't want to shake my butt on TikTok. Okay, well, let's talk about that on the ad where a lot of people don't say it. I don't want to sell my soul to the devil, something like that. Or I don't want to, in musicians world, I'm like, I don't want to join the Illuminati, or I don't want to, have to, whatever that looks like, whatever people's real objections are, you throw that in there as like the third thing. So it'll look like that. So you can throw in pain points, benefits, and results. You can throw in testimonials. You can also say, check out, some of the, fun things our customers have said. And I'll throw in funny testimonials. So I'll throw in real testimonials where, Bob is like, I just booked 25 shows and I, traveled around the world. And then Mary's like, oh my gosh, I just made my first $10,000 in a day, or, whatever that looks like. And then I'll do a third one where sometimes I'll even play a character. So we did a funny one where I was talking about a real estate investment course and I dressed up like a, America hat and like an America, and I'm like, I forgot what I said. I was like, I'm just really glad that I joined this course. I bought my first property. I mean, nobody will buy it because somebody died in it. But thanks, Bob. Really appreciate the course. Like something that's like, it's not even a real testimonial, but people love it so much that they click on it. They're like, I clicked on it because of the the funny testimonial that you had. Even though you had all these real testimonials, people are clicking on it. So when you think about it, your landing page is where you're putting like real results. The landing page is what you're putting all the logic. Like this is logically why you should buy it. The ad, you're just trying to get people to click. You're just trying to get traffic. Yeah. If people don't even know what you're offering, then they can't, they're not even going to know how. If they don't know what you're offering, they can't buy it.
Yeah.
So you have to drive traffic. And if your conversions are, hey, I convert at 10% once people land on my landing page. Well, if you get twice the traffic, now you're going to get twice the sales. Yeah. So that's how you can look at it.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool structure. So you get them at the beginning. It's like a hook. You start pointing out some objections. You add a little bit of humor, and then you get them to that landing page. And so then, if it runs for 3 to 6 months, that's kind of within range to be a good ad.
Fantastic. I mean, and at the same time, I don't want anybody watching and go, "Hey, my ad only did well for 4 weeks. I suck." Everybody's business is so different.
Yeah.
It's so different. And just like the cologne business, we've had ads run for 5 years. I always like to say, if all you had to do is create a couple ads on your cell phone a couple times a month, and maybe you had to do it every 4 weeks, would you complain about that? Because I wouldn't complain about that. I'd be like, okay, cool. I just got to turn my camera on twice a month. And then if you get more time than that, then fantastic. But yeah, we've definitely reached 6 months, a year, 5 years. Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. Now, do you think this is specific only to, you mentioned a couple price points, $19, $39. If somebody's watching this and they're like, hey, my lowest ticket is $10K. Should they even consider doing something like this? Or is it just something that's no sales team, really quick close right on the funnel?
Oh, no. Actually, most of the ads that we create are high ticket. They're for high ticket products.
Okay. What's the highest ticket one you've done?
Well, okay. For example, we do for lead generation, companies, and some of those are doing, $300K to $1 million a month or more. Those are, some of them are doing $50 million, $100 million a year. And a lot of those are subscription based. So some of those are, people are paying $100,000 a month per client. So someone who's buying in lead gen might be spending $100,000 or more a month with one of our clients. So those are high ticket recurring customers. So we do a lot of lead gen businesses. We do a lot of lead gen businesses, and where the customer, the lifetime value of that customer, or even just the year for the year, some of them are spending anywhere between $500 to $5,000 a month as well on the low end of the high ticket. And then we have the lead gen businesses, which some of those businesses are spending upwards of 6-7 figures a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Every business. So I started out in low ticket. So that's why I'm mentioning some of the people watching might be like, well, I don't have a sales team. So I'm like, well, I did it with $19 products. And some of them are like, well, I have, huge businesses. Well, you could do it with huge businesses too. And I think a big testament to that too is when you watch the Super Bowl, the biggest businesses in the world are creating funny ads for a reason. There's a reason why the biggest companies that have the biggest ads budgets in the world available are advertising using humorous content.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually just thinking about that when you were saying that. I was like, oh yeah, there's actually in the Super Bowl usually funny ads, and those are the ones that are popular. Anyways, they go viral. But okay, cool. Now we have in the business community right now a very popular topic: artificial intelligence. Are you using AI anywhere in your ads, and do you expect to transition more to AI advertising?
Yeah. So I actually teach I just had a challenge where I teach everyone how to create funny ads using AI. So I'm glad that you asked this because this is awesome. Okay.
Timing.
Because before AI existed, I never taught anybody how to make fake ads because I'm like, you're either funny or you're not. It's just, you can't just, you know what I mean? It's just too hard. And I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this. But then when AI came out, even something as simple as ChatGPT, when you have templates, even if you just use the formula that I was talking about, hey, I'll give you an example. So this is someone that's watching right now could come up with a hook. They could go, hey, ideal customer, right? Hey, ideal customer, are you tired of, and you could put in brackets, exaggerated pain point that's so exaggerated it's hilarious and going to make my customer laugh, right? And that's it. So then you go into ChatGPT and you say, hey, ChatGPT, I am a business owner that owns a Indian restaurant or whatever it is that you own, right? And then you say, I want to make a funny hook for my ad. Can you use this template and fill in the brackets? So now you've said, hey, ideal customer, are you tired of, exaggerated pain point, but you would like to achieve, and then in the brackets you have desired result. You can ask ChatGPT, give me a dozen ideas. And it'll say, hey, are you tired of, in the entrepreneurial space, right? We just did an ad for an entrepreneurship coach. Are you tired of kissing your boss's butt? Are you tired of, waking up at 6 o'clock at the crack of dawn? Are you tired of, and it'll say are you tired of, and it'll give you 12 different pain points. And so it'll give you all these exaggerated pain points. So now it's great because you didn't even have to think of it. Yeah. I used to work with a whole team of writers. I sometimes work with one writer. I'm usually just being AI now.
Wow.
So I'm just asking AI. Another thing that I can do is go to AI and say, hey, I'm creating ads for a concrete business and I want to make concrete funny. Can you give me 10 concepts that I could possibly use? And this is called prompt stacking, right? So you ask, give me 10 concepts, and then it'll give you 10 concepts. It's like, I'm the concrete Superman hero. And it'll tell you, he'll be wearing a little red leotard and he's a concrete Superman, or 2, now it's CSI and he's in court and he's, there's a judge going, we heard that you are laying great concrete. We know you're doing something illegal, and then it'll give you another one. Hey, we could do a talk show spoof or whatever, it'll give you all these different concepts. And then you can go, hey, I really liked the concrete superhero guy. Can you now write me a 45-second ad, talk about the pain points of my ideal customer, talk about the benefits and results of my ideal customer, and put it in a 45-second ad? Wow. And then it'll do that. Because now it'll say, it might be someone at the concrete, what am I going to do? My land looks so terrible. And it's not to fear. And then smoke. And it'll write this all in there. I am concrete Superman, and it'll add that into the script. It won't do all the things that I'm doing right now, but it'll write it all for you. I'm here to save the day. It'll write all that for you. And in seconds. So it's really amazing. So it's those types of things to know that, hey, if I just know how to create language that sells, which is pain points, benefits, and results, I can then just tell ChatGPT to come up with a character for me or a concept, and it'll do it. And I can just say, focus on the pain points and benefits and results that my ideal customer wants to achieve. And it'll write it out for you. That's amazing.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
yes, AI all day.
Yeah. No, that's really cool that you're creating ads like just with AI. And so I've seen that now there are these apps using AI that can create videos for you. So are you looking to implement this in combination with that?
Okay, so we haven't used the videos yet, but I have
Uh-huh.
seen that where you can like tell it, hey, a kitten walking through the jungle, and it'll show a kitten walking through the. It's crazy.
Mhm.
We've done a lot of like Mid-Journey and like actual photos. So
Yeah.
we've done a lot of that type of stuff for, especially for like still ads, and we use them in our videos as well. But absolutely, I mean, back in the day, you used to have to pay a fortune for like stock footage. You know,
Mhm.
if you needed of you'd have to pay so much money to get licenses. Maybe you just needed a video of the beach.
Yeah.
You'd have to spend so much money for it. Now you can just generate it and you don't have to spend any money for it. It makes being an independent business owner or even any type of business owner just so much easier
Yeah.
because you're not having to spend as much money on the creatives, which usually are a headache. You know, if you're really good at like, you know, stats and data and processes and you're using a different part of your brain than a creative part of your brain, you know? So it's like now that you have AI that can actually come up with ideas for you, like, it's amazing. Why not use it?
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited to see how that industry progresses and how we can start using AI to do all of this. Now, you mentioned something, and I didn't even think to ask you this, but stills versus videos. What's your ratio of still ads versus video ads? And do you make the still ads funny as well?
Yeah.
Like, do you make like memes or something?
Yeah, we do. So we'll take a lot of stills from like the videos that we do. So there might be like, we just did one yesterday. It was completely pointless. I'm sitting there and my brother is actually there and he's like dressed up as a Dalmatian, like a furry dog. There's like literally no point. There's no point at all. And in the video, I'm actually just talking and I'm not even, he's there like doing weird stuff and I don't even acknowledge that he's there. But we took a still image of that. And so sometimes it's, you know, that particular image, I might just put the same text, you know, hey, are you trying to achieve this result, right? But what I will say is what has worked out really well is, for example, I gave the example earlier about like, hey, are you a mom trying to also, you know, you're having a hard time balancing between motherhood and entrepreneurship. If you also take a still of you like, you know, your hair's like, you know, and there's a kid in the background like, mommy, you know, like that still image can perform fantastic as well. Say, hey, are you having a hard time or are you a struggling mom trying to figure out how to start your first business? You know, click here to join those perform really well too. And having a combination, like the more ad creatives that you can have running at the same time. I mean, I don't want to say you have to have like, I know some people that'll have like 30 ad creatives. I don't have anything like that. I usually have anywhere between 3 and 5, maybe 7 per offer at any given time. I know some people that do a lot more than that. But you don't want people seeing the same thing over and over again. So sometimes if that's just creating an image, sometimes you don't know if someone's just busy when they first saw it. You know, maybe they were cooking and they were interested in your offer, or maybe they were driving and it popped up on their, you know, audio or whatever. Sometimes it just takes seeing things in different forms before they finally click on it. And you never know which one it's actually going to be. And I've made so many guesses on going, this is going to be the best ad. It's going to be the best performing ad ever. And it tanks. And then something that I just shot really quick, you know, in the like back of a pickup truck, I'm like, yo, check this out, you know, whatever, performs so well. And I'm like, it's at this point, I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to shoot as much content and we're going to throw it out there and we're just testing it. So I would say create as much content as you can, but definitely still images, create that. If you just show that pain point, again, just that pain point alone is like an easy place to start. Like, or like frustrated, like maybe your hair looks like it got lit on fire. Are you a frustrated, you know, whatever it is that they do, whoever your ideal customer is.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. I like some of the insights that you've shared here. And so what would you say is like the split between the stills and the video ads? Like how many stills do you run and how many video ads do you run?
Personally,
Yeah.
I'll do like way more video. Absolutely way more video.
So you prefer the video ads?
It's not even preference. It's Facebook has tons of data on how it performs. I don't remember the exact things. If you go to, I have a website where I have all the data posted because it's performs phenomenally better. Like it's like, it's like way more clicks, way more views, way more engagement, way more, you know, it's all of the front end traffic stuff that you want. So, and that's all easily like, if you're like, hey, I don't know, Google it. Just say, how does video perform against still? And you'll find data over and over and over again about how it outperforms like astronomically.
And you're just running Facebook ads or Google?
We do Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We've started getting into TikTok. The businesses that I create ads for, they do it on all the platforms. So I'm kind of juggling when I'm answering these questions between what I do for my businesses, because I create ads for my businesses, and then I create ads for other businesses that are running ads on all platforms. I personally have run ads on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Other businesses do their stuff on TikTok. I haven't figured out TikTok that well yet, so I'm still figuring that out. But I prefer to just create the ads and hand them to other agencies to run them. So that's like how our process is. We do the creatives.
Okay, that makes sense. And so, just talking to you, you can see that you've got a wealth of ideas and creative things that you're thinking about. How do you stay inspired and how do you stay sharp creatively?
Oh, that's good. I really love it. I think that's really all it is. I really, really love it. And I keep I'll spend, an hour or two sometimes just checking out other people's ads and going on YouTube and saying the best Super Bowl ads ever and kind of watching stuff. Or if I'm watching a movie and I see them do something funny, I'll take notes of it and I'll start writing down. I have a whole document of all these funny things, but I don't book a ton of creative shoots. So for us, for example, we don't just create ads for every business that wants to create ads. You can only do so much in your brain creatively, right? It's not like you're just doing math where, hey, there's a formula, I can put it in an Excel sheet and it's going to come up with a formula. Humor and creativity, it's if you don't feel funny, it's so hard, and it's just this is not fun. So for me, it's having enough time, as an entrepreneur, for me, I'm doing everything from, funnel building, sales copy, creating the ads, but actual creation of the ads, we only do a few days a month because if you're not feeling creative, you're just not feeling creative. But overall, I love what I do. I have so much fun with it. So I don't feel like I'm working. I don't feel like I'm on adrenaline rush the whole time. And then I'll go the whole day and be like, oh my God, I forgot to eat. Let me eat something, because we're just the energy and we're laughing. So I feel like the answer to that question is I just love it. And I space out the time to where I don't feel like it's work. Because if I was having to do it every day, I probably wouldn't enjoy that.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. Okay, cool. So as we wrap up here, is there anything else that you'd like to leave the audience with? What's something that they can actionably implement in their business to run a better business?
Yeah. It's obviously when, like I mentioned earlier, someone needs to have a great offer. Once you have a great offer, that any type of ad on the front end, if you can just explain what problem you're solving. And I think the big thing that I always tell everyone, always know that your customer is trying to go away from pain and towards pleasure. That's all they care about, is whatever pain that I am in, are you going to solve that pain? Away from pain towards pleasure. So if you can just communicate that in your ad, trying to go away from pain towards pleasure, and then add a little bit of humor, and it doesn't even have to be entirely funny. It's not like everyone has to laugh. If you just come off hey, I'm not taking life so seriously. I'm just here having fun. Again, if you had to choose between all the businesses, I always tell everyone, I use this funny concept. I was on Amazon and this pickle costume popped up. And, you're imagining if you watched an ad and somebody was like, are you having debt problems? And, I'm Dr. Bob. And if you're having any problems, you can call, But then the next one is, are you in a pickle? I'm Bobby over here. Who are you're going to remember the guy that made you laugh or the guy that just made you smile. Or even if you didn't laugh out loud, you're just going to remember that person because they were fun. So sometimes it's just being fun. You don't necessarily have to be funny. So go out there, be fun, be friendly, post content, create content. You're not going to be good at it first, usually. Just do it over and over and over again. But the world has to know that your product exists for them to be able to buy it.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all this value. This has been super interesting, even for myself. I mean, seeing your perspective and how humor can really change so much in this whole process and, help people run a better business, create more revenue for their company and decrease ad spend. So where can people find you if they want to connect with you? Do you want to share what the best way to find you is?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys want to find me, I'm on Instagram. It's Kristine Mirelle at Kristine, Kristine. Mirelle is Mirelle. And I actually have a free ads course. Is that okay if I give that out? If you guys go to freeadscourse.com, so freeadscourse.com, you can actually sign up and I explain all these things. And I even give away some of those ChatGPT templates that we talked about.
Awesome.
That you could copy and paste and start writing ads for yourself right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, guys. You heard it from Miss Kristine Mirelle herself. Check it out, freeadscourse.com. Download her guide in her course and see how you can start creating ads which are funny and could potentially reduce ad spend for you and still get you the same conversion. So thank you guys for joining us today. This is Better Business with Austin Zelan, and I'll see you all in the next episode.